We're here today at Walton Hersham FC. We've come to talk to Calogero, the Director of Football and owner, and see what's going on at the club today. Calogero, can you just give me your job title here?
Struggle. I'm just going to go like Director of Football.
Okay.
But yeah, an owner.
Talk to me about the introduction to Walton and Hersham, or where this whole thing all started.
We have to go back to what, 2019, end of 2018. We're all at uni, and I wanted to drop out of uni after my first lecture.
Okay, what was you studying?
Theoretical physics.
Theoretical physics, that sounds crazy anyway.
It was, like, honestly, 30 minutes into that lecture, I wanted out.
Right, okay.
But my parents being my parents, like, I had to find something to do, otherwise...
Get out of my house, yeah. No, I get it.
No, I'm joking, but yeah, I had to find something to do, right? So, obviously I was looking around, and back then I moved home, and obviously I love football, so I was watching Walton and Hersham down here on Saturdays.
Oh, was you?
It was so bad. So that year, they finished rock bottom of step 5.
Yeah.
That was 18-19. And yeah, like there were about 40 people watching. And eventually, like if you go enough, you end up speaking to everyone, right? And I ended up speaking to the chairman at the time, who was also like acting as goalkeeper coach that season.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it was amazing. And he basically ended up saying, like, if the club goes down, they're just going to pack it in.
Right.
And Walton Hersham was actually one of the first ever. It was the first ever game I went to, because my dad took me down to Stomp on Lane when they played AFC Wimbledon, when Wimbledon were coming up the leagues.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was always heard about the club, and yeah, it just would have been like a travesty really if it had just folded. So there I was, just thinking, here's something to do. Yeah, let's explore it and see what we can do. So I did a few mates to a group chat, and just went like, lads, what are we saying?
But sorry, because to me, that's so interesting, because I couldn't go into my group chat and say, guys, do you want to buy a football club?
No, they all left. They all left it straight away.
Did they?
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
just came in and said, guys, do you fancy buying a football club?
I did them all to a group chat, and I just posted like the movie poster of Moneyball.
Okay.
It's like one of my favourite films, and that's what I just said. I said, lads, what are we saying? And they all left because they thought I was mocking it. And it took about 2-3 months to like persuade them that, look, guys, like we could actually like maybe do this.
Yeah.
Honestly, I remember looking back at a lot of the notes and stuff I'd made about the finances and what we could do and how it would be viable and all of that. They were such crap. Oh, we didn't know what we were doing.
Did you think you was being unrealistic?
Oh, it was awful. Like, I look back now and I'm thinking, what are you doing? It's really bad.
Yeah.
But I don't think if we had a realistic mindset, we wouldn't have been able to do it.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it was
so
that
you've got to kind of
naivety.
dream big.
Yeah. It was that naivety that started this whole thing. I think I remember that our first pre-season friendly. I'm sitting out there, that back pitch there, a see-through gate. I'm there out on a table charging £1, £2 for like entrance to this friendly against Hastings Reserves.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, that's the sort of stuff that we were doing back then.
Yeah. So you managed to convince 3 other people. No, was it 3 other people?
There was 7 of us at the
7
start.
of you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot.
There were 7 of us at the start, like all schoolmates.
Right.
And yeah, like that's how it started. We were all like equally 7 of us just started the club together.
Wow.
I say started the club. We took over the club. And
did you go in like 7 ways and like we're just going to do this equally? Right. That's a lot of chefs.
I remember. Well, it was, but at the same time, like everyone was like that whole first season was ridiculous. Like in terms of how we managed to do it, because everyone's at uni. So we had some boys were at Durham, one boy was at Newcastle. Other boys are at Bristol. Like I'm here with a couple of others, and it's like we're all across the country just trying to run this football club together.
So you've just come out of uni. Was you working?
Nah.
So this is like your first.
Not
job, but it's like, okay, I'm just gonna throw all my eggs in one basket.
Yeah. It was like this is my life now.
And then, well, if he wasn't working, how did you get the funds?
Well, this is the thing. So at the time, one of the reasons why we actually took over the football club in the first place is because they had gone down to step 6.
Yeah.
So the running costs of it were like nothing.
They were lower, yeah.
So if we had failed at the end of that season, we would have just like, what could we have done? Like,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have lost too much money, and we could have just left it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we would have wanted to ever do that, but that was a possibility, right? That's how you persuade the boys to come on board.
Yeah, of course,
and yeah, by that point, look, I'm not going to lie, like I freeloaded off my parents.
Yeah, fair.
Because
Yeah,
I'm like,
fair,
I'm living
fair.
at home. I'm like, look, you guys going to support me with this? They're
Yeah.
quite avid in football, community football. Like my mum's actually like the treasurer of the junior club.
Love that.
So they've always run like football around this area. So they wanted to support me, and I think that year, some of the boys used their student loan like money.
Yeah,
some of
no,
that
fair
and
enough.
whatever.
Yeah, just do
And
what
I
you
think
gotta do.
it ended up costing us each about $1,500 that year.
Really?
Yeah,
okay, that's not
yeah,
that bad.
yeah. No, that's
not
what
that
it
bad.
was.
Yeah.
Like, and when you think like for a pastime and a hobby, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
what
that's
it
not that
was,
bad.
actually not too bad for that first year, but it got us thinking about what we needed to do for the following season to sort of stop that ever happening again.
Yeah.
And from that point onwards, we never actually put in a penny since.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you've just got externals.
Well, firstly, we didn't have any money. We didn't have
Yeah.
any more money. Like, I think at one point, our bank account that season went down to like 14p. I think it was. Like, we got saved by COVID. You got to remember as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then obviously since COVID, a lot of football was supported. Like, you got a few COVID grants that year. And
Yeah, true.
there's things like that, and then it sort of gave us that time to re-establish where we were at. The social media started booming during COVID as well for us, and that allowed us to bring in more partnerships and things like that.
How did you find that that first takeover year? Because I'm sure I was here.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was the first year that you came in.
Yeah, that was 1920, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I was doing the 18s.
When George and
he was doing the first team.
So
how did you find that? Because it's different from our perspective than it would have been from yours.
So this is the thing, like, that first year was such a mess.
It was hard.
Like, it was a mess. We didn't know what we were doing, but we had to act like we knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
And we had to run the club. And I was thinking, you think back, and obviously when I knew that we were doing this interview, I was thinking, you almost think back with more admiration of the people like yourself, like George, like people who had to work and had to run sort of with us that year, because I'm thinking back to what it must have been like. I'm thinking, what I can't even imagine what I was like 5-6 years ago. I looked like a baby. I was a baby.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what we were doing. So it was actually a sort of such a wing it year.
I think arguably, I'd probably say from my experience that you've probably done quite well to cover up some of that stuff. Because when I was the 18s manager, wasn't I? And we were linked to obviously the post-16 academy, but I had very little to do with the first team. So anything that was going on, I wouldn't really have been privy to, because I was kind of just focused on like those boys. And I think that we didn't really have too much trouble. So like we had equipment, we had nice facilities, we had, do you know what I mean? The boys were playing FA Youth Cup, and they were with us at the college program. And as far as we knew from the 18s, we kind of just got what we needed. Whereas I don't know what the first team experience would have been like. I mean, I know they probably would have been picking up like 30 quid a week and they would just wing it.
Well, this is what I was thinking. Like, obviously we got lucky with the fact that, George had his boys that he had brought in.
Yeah.
We did host a few trials and whatever, but again, the running costs were so low at that time that wages were pretty much non-existent. In terms of like the facility, we're always quite lucky with that. We've always been lucky with that. We wouldn't have been able to do this if it was a grass pitch that we had to maintain.
Yeah.
Who's doing that? Do you know what I mean? So we're lucky with the environment. And yeah, it was basically, as you said, a sort of let's try and survive and avoid as many problems as possible. I mean, I remember that year was such an eye-opener. I remember we had a Vars game down at Rains Park before they did all the work, right? So it was like Rains Park, and there wasn't any grass on that pitch, I remember. And there was a 22-man fight after the game. And I'm thinking, oh no, like, what do we do? What do we do? And we're obviously facing this massive fine. And I remember that's one of the first conversations I had with George, and George goes like, you can't find the players for that. And I'm thinking, obviously with my naivety, I was thinking you can, but we won't, because ultimately the respect was there of, he sort of does know more about this than we do.
Right.
So we're going to go with what he thinks the best is for himself and the players, like what we think is going to be. A lot of it was just do what you think is right, and then we'll keep rolling with it.
Do you feel like you've had that experience, like as a director of football, and you have people that, let's say like in year 1 or year 2 of you coming into your role, you kind of have to understand, all right, there's going to be people that know more than me, but then when you get to year 5 and year 6 and you think, actually, I've been in this business for a while now, so I'm actually going to put my foot down here.
One of my strengths is like understanding that I don't really know anything. Like I'm not an expert at anything. So I'm always going to listen to other people and never really say otherwise until I have to. Do
you think do you think you've had moments where you've been misled in that regard?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. 100%. Like that's one of my weaknesses as well, is like too trusting, put too much faith in people. But you sort of have to. I mean, there's an element of, if you bring in a manager, for example, or any role, any responsibility, a marketing officer or anyone, like you're bringing them in to do a job. You can't tell them what to do. You can't puppet them, because otherwise you don't know whether they're going to be the right person for that role, right? So obviously you see in non-league a lot of stories about chairman, managers, and chairman getting involved and having their words, and like, you shouldn't really do that, because if you're bringing in a manager, you're bringing a manager in to manage, and that's it. Like that is it. That is their role. That is their job. And if they don't do it right, then it's up to you to change that role. But it's not up to you to get involved and start messing around with what's going on.
Yeah. How have you found like the recruitment, the hiring and firing? Because I know that even in like similar roles, I've had to let go of people in the last 2 years, and it's tough, and you hiring and finding the right person, and it's not like, people tell me all the time I don't envy your job. So how have you found that? So in the first, like when we first started, luckily I haven't really had to do it at all, really. I think in that first year, didn't really have to do it. The way that George left, I remember it was during COVID, so a lot of it was like over the phone, not really in person. When obviously that change happened, and George sort of left on his own accord, in terms of like that conversation of we're letting you go or whatever, never really happened. I don't think I would have been able to even have that conversation, because I was too young. I didn't know what I was doing. I just don't know how to have that sort of conversation. And even to this day, like being truthful, I didn't actually have that conversation with Scott. Right. That was Chris who had that conversation. So do you feel like equipped enough to have those conversations? Or
honestly,
do you just find them
like deep down, I don't until we played Taunton at home this year, and it was actually a conversation I had to have with our security officer, who had I think overstepped a line. Okay. And we sort of had to part ways, and I was just forced to have that conversation there and then. And I think that was a moment where I was just chucked into the deep end and had to have that conversation. And I think after that conversation now, I think in the future, I'll be more equipped to have that sort of conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know much about the Scott story. So in terms of how you would have parted ways as such. Yeah. But based on what you've said, do you feel like you need to start having those conversations?
Yeah, I think that is that's part of the role, and it's almost like a situation where now's the time to sort of grow up, and you've got to have those conversations.
Do you think there's a view out there of Clutch doesn't want to have the conversation?
Probably, yeah. Probably. I think there's an element of one of the hardest things of this role. If you want this role, you just can't be liked by everyone.
Fair, yeah. I think
you've got to be the bad guy, right? You have to be, because that's part of it. And if you're not willing to be the bad guy, then it's not right. It's not right for you.
I wanted to go back to I'm going to touch on the hiring and firing stuff, but the growth of the club. So like when we were here, we'd be lucky if there's 50 people here.
Yeah.
Whereas now, obviously you've had, is it 2 promotions?
3, yeah.
3 promotions.
3 since then.
So you must have like much more fans here now.
Yeah.
So what have you had to do to like grow that community or to regrow the fan base?
So first and foremost, I think there's 2 things. When we joined the club, Walton Hersham is a relatively big non-league name. And it used to have some it had golden days back in the day, and it's a well-known name around the club, around the town. So there was always a thing in mind of, if the club starts to do well again, I feel like you can reconnect easier with an older fan base.
Okay.
And then number 2 was, there's a massive junior club here, massive junior club here, who are instantly a potential supporter base.
Yeah.
So those were the 2 things that you had to reconnect with. First and foremost, it was the junior club, got to reconnect with them. That was quite easy because that's the junior club I grew up and played with.
Right.
That's the junior club that my dad and mum basically ran. Ran. So
is there an 18s as well?
It was actually your 18s was the first 18s.
Oh,
first
love
midweek's
that for me.
18s that came in, and now there's 3 midweek under 18s.
Wicked.
That go like 16s, 17s, 18s.
That's really good. Do they get an opportunity? Is there like a pathway from the 18s
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
first team?
So it's actually like Tarbo,
okay,
who's played like every game since, I can't even remember what his first game was.
He came from your 18s?
Yeah.
Good.
So he came through the 18s. I would love more marketing around that, but we just haven't had the manpower or time to do that.
Yeah, that's fair. You basically kind of reconnected with like older fans. That was like your target.
Yeah,
and the junior section, and it's just like grown from there.
Yeah, I think so. That first year, I mean, what everyone's got to remember is that George played the first 28 games of that first promotion.
Yeah.
Right, the second promotion, the season that joined with that season was only like 11 games long.
Right, okay.
So the majority of that first promotion in the back-to-back-to-back was actually
was George's players, that cohort,
and yeah, like since then we sort of have like doubled every year.
Right.
And then I think when we brought Scott in, what that brought was even more of a sense of community, because a lot of those boys had been at Walton Casuals.
Yes.
So they're all like live around the area, they've all got families, they've all got friends that obviously they're encouraged to come down. So then we saw the crowds increase even further.
Right.
So when we moved into the ground in 2017, when the clubs moved into the ground, obviously Casuals were here, weren't they? That was their original ground. And then that got knocked down, Stomp on Lane got knocked down, and then the 2 clubs joined here. Walton and Hersham were step 5 at the time, but they were going down.
Right.
And then Casuals were step 4 at the time. And then Casuals got promoted to step 3, and then Walton Hersham eventually got demoted to step 6.
Yeah.
So at the time it was a ground share scenario.
Right.
Where like the step 3 club got priority over everything.
Yeah.
Now that's actually one of the things that I was sort of lucky in earlier life. I was quite privy to and involved in like the Walton Casuals setup. Yes. So I was obviously in the Walton Casuals Juniors. That's what the junior club was originally called.
Right,
It was Walton Casuals Juniors.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, I actually, funnily enough, ended up becoming the youngest ever player for Walton Casuals.
To play for the first team?
To play for the first team.
Okay.
And the record that I broke was Billy, who's our manager.
Oh, look how the world is small.
That's what I'm saying. We just realised that. I just realised that a month ago or 2 months ago. When we were on
Billy
the
that's
coach.
in here now?
Yeah.
Crazy.
And we were just laughing about that. And look, I'm not saying it was because I was good enough to play step 3 football at 16. Like, I know what it's like. It's good PR, right? So,
yeah.
But ultimately, I was able to break that record, right? So that was fun. But what I was actually able to do, and I didn't realise it yet, was learn just deep down about like non-league and understand like what it takes, the environment within non-league, and just learn a little bit more about it, so that when I first took over, I was a little less blind than potentially the rest of the boys were.
how did the Scott appointment come about?
So I get a phone call. It was my dad who ended up getting approached because he was in the fish and chip shop or Morley's, somewhere like that. And he came home with a bag of like chips with Scott's number on it.
Right.
And I think Scott had actually applied for the job, like basically just said like, if, you know, can I have a chat with Calogero and whatever. So basically we had that chat, and the conversation was, because Scott was my assistant, he was actually the assistant manager at Walton Casuals when I made my debut.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So when Scott called me, the conversation was mainly about, look, you know, I live just down the road, he literally lives just down the road, and, you know, these are the sorts of players that have basically said that they will come if I get a job in non-league. And you're talking like all the boys that got us those 2 promotions, the boys that were all at Casuals beforehand had got that promotion to step 3. So from my perspective at the time, it was like, this has to happen. Yeah. Like, this has to happen. I remember, and if I get this wrong, I get this wrong, but I do remember having a conversation with George, and I remember he was about to have a child. He said, look, I might not be there at the start of the season, but I can bring in someone who can sort of hold the ship together while that's happening. Yeah. And I remember just saying on the phone, yeah, but I might, I was like stuttering and all over the place, do you know what I mean? And it was like, yeah, we might have to like think about who's in charge or whatever. Now I remember, like, don't get me wrong, I must have been an idiot, like the way I was talking, whatever, but I'm pretty sure like George worked it out, right? Right. And then he goes, and then obviously a couple of days later, it was like, I'm leaving Walton Hersham. Yeah. This is just to describe how naive and how like dumb we were at the time. When he put that tweet out, we were like all on pro clubs. Like, it was during lockdown. So I get like, the boys have messaged the group chat.
Wait, guys.
Yeah. Honestly, it was a screenshot from one of the boys, and he sent us questions to this group chat going like, lads, what's going on here? And we're all just like, lads, can we finish this game and then lock in?
And then we'll talk about it.
But that is just sums up what we were as an ownership group. Like, it wasn't serious. It wasn't. And that's why, like, so much credit has to go to that first year, where basically, like, it was sort of run by itself, if you get what I mean. Like, the 18s was self-run, the first team was self-run, and we were still finding our feet and that was, that's where we were at. So
Scott then goes on to do pretty well for you. 3 promotions? Is it?
So yeah, including the 2 years
joint one, yeah. So then naturally, because this happens, let's be honest, like this happens at every club, well, a lot of clubs, whereby manager does really well, and then at some point it then becomes like squeaky bum time, and you're stuck as in a position like yourself between, okay, we might need to not move this person on, but they might be leaving, or we might need to make a new decision now. Yeah. But there's also a loyalty between the success that he's had. So when you got to that point, what was your thinking? What was the process behind that?
Yeah, so obviously like those 3 years were like unbelievable, right? It was just up and up and up, and the socials were booming, the popularity was booming. It was the first time we got these record crowds, and you couldn't have written a better script, right? Yeah. Where we got to, though, was we found ourselves overnight in step 3, and it's just a completely different world of football, step 3. The gaps between the levels become bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So...
And your £1,000 and something pound that you were spending probably is not that anymore, right?
the running costs, if I'm talking like that first season probably cost us almost like, the running costs were what, 20k that year?
Yeah, you must be spending that in a month now.
Yeah, I wish. You know what I mean? If you're counting like security and all of that as well, it's more than that. But yeah, like running costs have gone up tenfold, and it's just you can't sustain that sort of mindset anymore. So the club had to reach a point of, we needed to reset. We needed to change our way of thinking across the whole board. So not only did it dramatically change in this past year, not only did the football side dramatically change, but the ownership structure dramatically changed.
Yep.
So the ownership structure now is actually myself, Chris, who was from America. So he invested in the club 2 years ago now. And we're the two majority shareholders, and then Sartej is the only one who's on a minority. The rest of the other boys moved on, sold their shares to us, and basically just, we had all reached a point in our lives where it was like, everyone needs to start getting jobs. Everyone needs to start thinking about their lives. Everyone's getting girlfriends, partners, and
Kids
it's like,
and stuff.
Is this going to be my life or is it not? And that was the conversation that we had to have, because that is the only way that the club's going to go forward, is if it has people here running it whose lives are going to be this. And that was it. And again, we still play Sunday League together. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Like we're all still best mates. Like that didn't change, but you wanted to avoid that sort of thing breaking.
Yeah. Is that how you feel? Do you feel like your life is the club?
Yeah, I'm such a loser. Like honestly, it is just the club, and it's only been the club for. And ironically, that was the funny thing. When I was playing football back in, you know, growing up as a kid, it was always the attitude from my parents was, football's not going to be your life. Like, make sure you keep studying, make sure your school work and all of that. And now, come out of university, and it is just football. It's just non-league football.
Yeah.
That's it.
So how are you feeling now? So you're third in the league.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned you've got a point to get today, and then you've secured playoffs.
Yeah.
And then how long's Billy been here?
Yeah, so Bill's actually been here as long as Scott has. So Bill was the assistant the whole time.
Oh, okay, right. So, but Bill is first team manager.
Yeah.
Has been here how many games now?
Start of this season. So.
Oh, okay. He's been here the whole season.
Yeah.
Wow,
so
Scott
over
seems
the
like
summer.
Closer than that, but it was the beginning.
That happened in April last year.
Billy was Scott's assistant.
Yeah.
Billy stayed and Scott went.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes unheard of. Normally, manager and assistant goes together, but they.
Yeah. So
separated.
When Scott came in, obviously all those players came in.
Yeah.
Billy came in from America as well to help out assistant manager.
Okay.
And basically what happened is Scott was the manager and all those players followed him.
Yeah.
What you find from a business perspective, let's talk strictly business perspective, you've got a group of players who are, I don't know, let's say, just to make it easy, 28 years old, right, on step 6 wages.
Yeah.
3 years down the line, 3 promotions down the line, fantastic job. But what you've ultimately got is a core of players that are now 31, 32
that's step 3 football.
on step 3 wages,
yeah,
playing step 3 football. And that's when we had the massive ownership change, it also prompted, to take this club forward, we really need to rethink how we go into next season.
Right.
And that's basically how that all came about. Now, Bill was the coach of the football team for the last 4 years, and a lot of what we did on the football pitch
was down to him.
Was ultimately coached by him. So from the outside looking in, it did look like a crazy decision, especially following our statement with everything that was done. And don't get me wrong, it was fantastic. Scott was unbelievable. The players were unbelievable. But we just thought we needed to make that change. And again, it's a gamble on our behalf.
Always.
But we didn't want to wait and see and then react to a decision that potentially would have been negative for us. We wanted to potentially get ahead of the curve and stamp out any potential issues that might have occurred in the future.
How did you feel like that was handled, like from a director's perspective? Were you happy with how it was handled?
It was always going to be like hard.
Yeah.
Especially with how close the relationships were. And that's ultimately why I think Chris had the conversation.
Okay.
Because he had come over from America and he wasn't quite as close with everyone.
Do you find that's a bit easier, like for it to?
Oh, 100%. I don't think I would have been able to have that conversation.
It's quite bold of you to say that, to be fair. That like, listen, I just don't think I would have been comfortable with that conversation.
And to be fair, Chris was happy with it. Chris was like, look, if you want me to handle all the hard stuff, and even like the fans and stuff, they were blaming him and all
really?
of that.
Yeah. Do you know what? I wanted to ask you about that actually. Like, what's been the relationship with the fans? How's that been?
Fans are fans. Like, to be perfectly, look, our fans are great. I love our fans. A lot of them are involved in the junior club. A lot of them. But there was a widespread shock when it happened, and it was sort of like, just chill out. I went on a few walks with a few fans and stuff.
Did you?
Yeah. Like I wanted to sort of explain the whole season and why the decision was made, and loads of little things that happened during the season and all of that, like why we think it was the best decision to be made. And I think over the course of 5-6 years, every decision that's been made, from my perspective, has been made for the betterment of the football club. But I only care about one thing. It's my biggest weakness and it's my biggest strength. Like, it is the football club. It's the only thing that matters in my life. Yeah. Right? So I was even at my cousin's wedding the other, like, December time, and it was the first game this season I couldn't watch. And I'm like there, like having a panic attack. So I'm watching, like, that's it. I couldn't do it. It was awful.
Do you have to have sit-downs with the fans? Like, we have that at Croydon, and it's like we dread it every year.
Yeah, we had one recently. We want to do more. I think after now 5-6 years, like, we're actually beginning to grow a proper fan base.
Yeah.
How
many do you think you'll be expecting today?
Anything between 7 to 1,000.
Really?
700 to 1,000. Yeah.
That's really good. 700 to 1,000. But this is arguably quite a big game, isn't it?
Yeah. Like,
so
obviously they increase, but to be fair, our average over the course of the season has been about 700 this year.
That's really
like,
good.
It's increased every year, and look, I think it's something that we've pushed massively because the place we're at, we don't run the bar, we can't get really any income from that. So
you don't run the bar?
No, we don't get any income from the bar. Never have.
So when all these fans are coming in and they're necking beers,
we don't get a penny.
You're just not even seeing any benefit from this.
And we have to pay rent.
My gosh.
Yeah.
That's why your running costs are so high.
Yeah.
Do you have I mean, how do you fancy yourself in the playoffs?
I mean, it's a lottery, isn't it? Like, there's so many good teams in this league. Like, as we've seen the whole season, everyone beats everyone.
Yeah, so cool. Like, I mean, if you do win it though, and you go up, when are you going to start earning money from that bar?
From a perspective of a fan, of course, like, going up is fantastic and all of that, and that's the dream. But I think, like, I'll enjoy it for about 30 minutes, and then start having a panic attack.
I mean, the food.
So we built our own kiosk now. So,
you are going to get money off the food.
So we actually get that food van. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's great. At least you can earn some kind of money from there.
But yeah.
On the door?
Yeah. The attendance and the gate, that's basically been our main source of income over the last 5 years, yeah.
So if it's like pouring down with rain and it's Tuesday night and the fans don't fancy it, you're just thinking, I ain't making any money today.
Yeah, we're screwed. Yeah.
My God.
So yeah, like, going back to the fans, I think when there was a little bit of outrage, but at the same time, there was also a message of, guys, I feel like I've earned a little bit of credit here for you guys to sort of give us a bit of trust and go. But fans are very reactionary. Yeah,
of course. Yeah, I think you'd find that.
I think, but on the whole, like, I think our fans, a lot of the things you saw on Twitter were actually, like, none of our fans, none of the ones that are actually going to turn up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just people quote tweeting from afar, and that's it really.
I mean, okay, so what would you say along your journey of being in Walton Hersham is, like, probably one of the tough decisions you've had to make?
I think literally this last year's been hell.
Really?
Yeah, this last year's been horrible. In terms of the outcome of the management decision that we had to make, because you've got to think, like, you've been working with the same people for about 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Like, that's a long time. And you know how many times and how many hours a week you spend with these people as well, right? So that was hard. And then, you know, the boys, like my mates, not working with them anymore and making those changes. Like, this last year has been a real turning point for the club of, like, you know, we got this far, fantastic, like, unbelievable memories, but it's a different beast now. Like, we're going to have to level up here. Like, we're going to have to seriously think about how we're going to take this club forward.
What does that look like? What does taking the club forward look like?
I mean, professionalising on and off the pitch, massively, right? And then in terms of ambition, I think, look, everyone's going to say National League as a starting point. Everyone wants to get to that National League, fully aware of how difficult that is. But that is an aim. And yeah, we just have to see how it goes. But it's making sure that the business remains sustainable. And off that sort of side of things, for me, what's a massive flip has been is that I used to like be obsessed with the football. Like, what can we do on the pitch?
Right.
Do we win this weekend? Do we not? And now it's like, I live in Walton. I live here, right? I actually live in Hersham. But what can this club do for the community? Like, I've seen, when you see, we went to Leatherhead on Tuesday night in the Surrey Senior Cup. We brought about 250 to 300. My dad pointed out that's 1% of Walton's population.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? That's a crazy thing to think about, but it's true. So 1% of Walton's population were down supporting the club at Leatherhead. When we had a playoff final and we had over 2,000 here, that's a tenth. Almost
Crazy.
a tenth of the population down here.
Yeah.
And it's like...
A tenth of the population is standing in this football club right
yeah,
now. Yeah.
It's crazy to think about, but it's like how... In a world of... In a modern day world where we feel like we're sort of losing our touch with community, I feel like football clubs, non-league football clubs especially, like one of the few things that can really bring people together.
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
And that's where we're at. I see the benefits that the football club can give to people, and that's what we really want to start doing as well.
Do you think it's better now? There's 7. There was 7. Now there's 3.
100%. I mean, there's 2 that make that are allowed to make decisions. Do you know what I mean?
So what's the different roles? Like, what do you each do? Or are you just all just dabbling everything?
Yeah, like so Chris, basically the club's split into 2. Chris handles majority of like the US side of things.
What's the link there?
So we've started up Walton Hersham Academy out there.
What, in America?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
What, like
so
a
we've
kids
started
academy?
Yeah. So
wow.
we got, starting in September, I think we've got 3 schools.
Jesus.
And it's free education for kids out there.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So we really want to impact the community over there as well, right? Especially in the States where, look, I'm not too well versed. Like, Chris is the guy who knows all about this, but where paying for everything is quite a common theme,
right.
Especially youth sports. Like, the amount it costs is crazy.
Wow.
To allow like free football, free education for a lot of these kids in potentially lower income areas is massive, and it's
really
something
good.
that we want to do. And obviously that allure and that chance for boys to actually come over here. We've got 2 boys coming over here and playing in our reserve team next year.
Love that.
In step 7, I want to say we're going to be in.
Yeah.
Step 7 or step 8.
Yeah. That's really good.
And yeah, like that's where that link is, and Chris handles that side of things a lot. And then basically I'm sort of left over here trying to handle this. Yeah.
And then there's a third?
Yeah, Tej is, he was just more into like the media side of things, but he's sort of stepped away a bit more this season as well.
How is that? Because that's like, you've got a bit of an online presence now, haven't you? So
yeah, like, well, this is another like misconception. Over the course of the years we've been doing it, we haven't really earned a penny off our socials.
Right, okay. I think that takes a while anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah,
normally?
but like, we see online, like, oh, you got your TikTok money and things like that. It's like, no, we don't.
No, we don't, trust me.
I guarantee you, we
don't.
haven't got any TikTok money. We just did it for the fun of it.
Have you had to like, because I've had to learn this, but have you had to like, when you're online doing whatever it is you're doing, you have to learn to be on your P's and Q's as such. Have you had like run-ins online? You thought,
So I haven't. I like try to stay quiet. Like, I hate. This is the first time I've ever like done this sort of thing, because I just don't really like talking about anything, because I feel like whenever you say something, someone's always going to try and use it against you.
yeah, that's just the, you just got to, I've just learnt to bite the bullet, basically. You can't keep everyone happy, so sod it at this point.
But yeah, look, I think we've done quite well. Well, I've done quite well. I think...
to not get cancelled.
Yeah. You have to eventually tell a few people off, like when they say something that might be taken the wrong way. But yeah, like, I think especially now, we're really good. We're really good at that sort of thing. Like, just heads down, just get on with what you need to do, and yeah, almost let the community side of things do the talking. Yeah,
I mean the America thing is incredible. We haven't heard that one yet, have we? Like, being in non-league interviews, let's say. We haven't heard anyone that's gone abroad and done like bits abroad. So that's really good.
That's the brilliance of where Chris is coming from, really. He actually grew up here because his dad worked here. So he spent about 9 years over in London. And so he knows like the climate and the allure of English football, and it is brilliant. So for us to be able to set that sort of thing up out there, help communities out there, but also add a pathway from there to here,
right,
is almost like a dream come true. We've got one of the girls actually in our academy. She's coming over next year to play in us.
You've got girls football here?
Yeah, so we started up our women's team started.
Did you?
Last year.
That's really good. Where did you start? I know the women's leagues are confusing.
Yeah, it was like South East London
Did you just up the bottom
divisional.
as well?
Yeah. Like 5 teams in that league. But,
there's 5 teams in the league?
Yeah. You have to play the teams like 4 times each.
Right.
Or whatever, yeah.
That's crazy.
But yeah, we're going to build that side up. And
How did they get on in their first year?
3rd.
Out of 4?
It did end up being
Mid-table,
4 because one of the teams folded.
Really?
Yeah.
God.
Look, we got that team up and running. It's been a success in terms of being able to fulfil fixtures and that sort of thing. And then from that point onwards, we want to build from that and keep it going.
How many girls teams have you got?
Oh, so the actual junior club has loads.
Really?
So my oldest sister, was one of the first girls teams that my dad sort of started back in. My sister's 28 now, so when I was like 8, so about 2008, 2007.
Right, okay.
And from then on, I want to say that they've got over 30 now here.
30 girls teams?
Yeah.
My God, and they're all in the Walton Hersham area?
Yeah, there's loads of girls
teams. That's so good.
now.
Have you got more than the boys?
No.
Oh, right.
I think they have, I want to say they've got 70, 80 teams now.
70 to 80 boys teams and then another 30?
No, so in total, there's over 1,000 kids now.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's a big junior club.
That's a lot.
Which is why we wanted to sort of make the brands almost synonymous.
Does that help with the income as well? Surely it must do.
No, we don't. That's non-profit.
Really?
Yeah. That was.
You're joking. It's non-profit.
Yeah.
All
so
the
they want to
kids'
keep
academies
the
are like paying for the first team.
Well, that's the thing. You don't. It's not. It's a grassroots setup, right? It's not an academy.
Yeah.
It's a grassroots Sunday club ultimately, with Saturday teams and that sort of thing. And you know, that's what it is. It's a community project.
So your first team, or the running costs of your first team, are completely separate to any income you would get from
and
the
that
kids.
would never change because
that's really good.
You don't want to ever affect that. Like what the junior club brings to the area is fantastic. You know, it offers bursary for lower income kids and tries to keep the registration fees as low as possible. And that is just what that does for the community is brilliant.
And is it within your job to oversee all of that?
Nah, it's my mum's job.
Right. Okay.
That comes with enough problems as it is.
But it's definitely like clearly family run, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
So how are you feeling, I suppose, about like now that we're coming towards the end of the season? Is mum and dad happy at the moment? Are they happy about how things are going at the moment?
We're all happy. I think ultimately, from a football fan point of view, it's like exciting, nervous, like what's going to happen with the games and are we going to get promoted and all of that. But I think if we actually take a step back and look at how the club's integrated itself into the community, how the club's changed on a business perspective, how the team have actually done this year, considering we had to build a new squad from scratch, first year of new management. I've got to be honest, like it's been unbelievable this year, really, from that perspective. If you take a step back and look at everything, you know, there's still so much more to be done. And one of the things I keep saying is that the most exciting thing about this football club for me is just how much still there needs to be done.
Yeah.
Like we've got to this point, and in my head, only about 5% has been done.
Right.
Like it's always what's next, and I've got lists at home of things that need to get done.
Yeah.
And yeah, like with where could we be in the next 5 years? Who knows?
How much say do you have over the style of play?
So the style of play, do you know what? The style of play, we sort of fluked.
Okay.
George brought that sort of style. He definitely stressed that in his first year. Definitely wanted to play that way. Then Scott came in with Billy, and it was even more so that way. Like I remember in those first years, like if you look at, there was a goal we conceded last season at Gosport. Talking about this last night when I was watching a game with them on the way to Basingstoke, and there's a goal we scored at Gosport last year. I am so confused. I'm so shocked that we did not get reported for match fixing. The goal was so bad. It was literally goalkeeper passes it to centre back kicks it back to goalkeeper, but kicks it into the net.
What?
Like, look it up. We're playing away at Gosport. You can look it up on YouTube, and it's like I'm shocked that no one like thought we were match fixing for a draw or something.
This is just from playing up from the back.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I think ultimately, yeah, we sort of fluked that originally, and I've actually learnt from about 5-6 years of watching that style. I've learnt a lot about it. I didn't know anything about it. I've actually learnt a lot from the managers and the people that have been involved at the club over the years about that style, just by watching and learning the whole time. And now I think I've gotten to a stage where I'm able to sort of identify, that sort of style and what we would want out of that. So I think I would never really want to go away from that.
So you've now bought into it, into that style, and you didn't actually say, I know, like, because from being in and around non-league, you get a lot of chairmen that say, right, I don't actually care if we're going to play out from the back because I want to lump it long. This is what we're doing. Yeah. So are you happy to give the managers like a level of freedom? Like if a manager come in now you've bought into it. If a manager comes in now and says, nah, mate, at step 2, we're lumping this long.
Nah.
Are you going to say no now?
Nah, if a manager ever got brought in, they would be brought in based on the fact that they'd be able to do that. I think that's where it stops. You've got to sort that stuff out before they come in. It can't be a situation, as we mentioned earlier, it can't be a situation where you're stepping into it going like, nah, you've got to play like this. No.
That's got to be established from before.
Yeah. Because once you bring them in, That's it. It's theirs until they lose their job.
Yeah, so you're not coming in the changing room?
No. I've heard stories of like managers getting brought down for breakfast on a Sunday morning and getting like told what they do and what they don't do right. And it's like, what are they doing? And to be perfectly honest, I think that a lot of the time, like us as chairman, us as owners, like we don't know anything. Do you know what I mean? Like you've got to go in with that attitude of like, if they're not doing it, who's going to do it? You. Just stop being so reactionary. Just watch the games, enjoy it. Something I've learned, especially this season, is luck in football. Plays
it can happen,
such a massive difference as well. Like you enter a lot of games and they are almost a flip of the coin a lot of the time. Sometimes the ball's not going to bounce your way, right? Sometimes a ref. I'm not going to talk about refs. I can't. That could be another hour. But yeah, like just. I know it's hard to enjoy like potentially losing, but you are going to lose games.
I think it's hard coming from like, well, we don't really sit in similar shoes, but it's kind of the same. Is when you've been in and around football and you've coached it and you've been on the grass like week in, week out. It's then hard to sit in the stands, watch something happen, and then think, oh, I think I could solve this. I think I could. Maybe if I just told this player this way, and you've got to like fight the urge.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny?
Involved.
Do you know what's funny is that I'm obviously commentating in the stand a lot. For the last 3 years. I've been like on commentary in the stand when we film our games, right? And I'm hearing
live stream.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the games you can live stream. Otherwise, it's just filming the games with commentary for highlights.
Right.
So anyway, I'm listening to like 400 other managers around me, just thinking like. And I'm thinking to some of them that say, oh, even still to this day, it's why we've got a scaffold in so I can commentate from the other side.
Really? Because you can't listen to the noise.
I can't do it anymore. I'm listening to like, still to this day, just kick it.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's not going to end.
I know, but it's like we've got to a point where we're bringing 700 to 1,000 people in.
Yep.
We've played this same way for a good
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years now. It's like, guys, come on, like, come on, no.
But football fans are fickle. We just have to accept that in life.
It's good as gold. They're all right.
So you mentioned earlier about professionalising on and off the pitch.
Yeah.
What kind of tweaks do you want to make that you think you would be happy with in terms of professionalising the environment?
In terms of the management side of things, the football side of things, like there's got to be more of a hierarchy. There's got to be more of a structure. We obviously got so far, and I think it was necessary in order to get past step 5, step 4. We had a very like family friendly, like they're all friends structure.
Yeah.
I think when you get to a stage where players are starting to be on contract and there's got to be a more, obviously look, the team's got to be close together, but there's got to be a more cutthroat decision-making structure to things. It can't be a situation where people are still in the squad and people are still playing because they're close to the manager or they're close to the owners or whatever, right? So
Does that make you feel a bit uncomfortable given like your non-confrontational nature?
Yeah, I know. No, I'll just stay away. I'll just stay in the boardroom, but that's the manager's decision, isn't it? But yeah, like ultimately that's part of the manager's job, isn't it? To have those conversations with players. And I think we've identified a good structure there. I think the importance of giving the manager the confidence to do that from our perspective is to trust him, but also giving him a strong management team around him to also support the decisions that he makes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just support, because you don't want a load of yes men, but you also want strong characters to also question his decisions and to in a non-confrontational way, obviously, but like to give different insights to things. So that's on the pitch, and then. Look, I think naturally as well, like the higher you go, and we've reached a level where I think a lot of those players, they're in and around National League football. As you go up these levels, like they expect that sort of culture as well.
True, that's true.
Yeah, I think they're all from professional backgrounds. Like there's rarely a player out on these pitches anymore at this level that haven't been at Charlton their whole lives, or at Fulham, or at like. So I think they're used to that sort of culture, and yeah, really like off the pitch, we've made massive strides, but we need staff. We need more professionals on board with us to be able to be trusted to get on with work that needs to be done. Like, we reached a tipping point this year where we had to bring someone else in. We got a director of strategic development, I think is the title.
What
I'm
a title.
terrible with titles. But so he's been handling a lot of our finances.
Okay.
That was a massive step forward. We've obviously got more marketing staff now, and it's just bringing more professionals in off the pitch as well to help support what's going on in the club, because we can't afford to get to a stage where the success of the football club has outgrown the structure of the football club. We've got to get ahead of that.
Balance now, aren't you?
Yeah. Like last year definitely felt, and this year definitely felt like the success has outgrown what our structure and current capabilities are.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
How are you feeling about today? Are you nervous a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
Who have we got today?
We got Plymouth today.
And they are where in the league?
So they are, I want to say they're mid-table now. So after yesterday's results, they're actually safe.
Right, okay.
Safe from relegation. Okay. So fingers crossed, Plymouth, please be on the beach. Do you know what I mean?
And you're Walton Hersham are third?
Yeah, we're third, 1 point clear of Gloucester with a game in hand. Okay. Today's the game in hand because a lot of games were played yesterday.
Second, third, fourth, fifth?
You're right. Those are playoffs.
Playoff positions.
So you got Totton, us at the moment, Gloucester, and then Havant and Dorchester are like fighting it out for that last playoff spot really at the moment. And yeah, like look, I just hope the boys play well. I know what football's like. Like a lot of, again, something that we have to drum into our fans is that yes, we've been promoted 3 times in a row, but that doesn't give us a divine right to win every game.
Yeah.
Honestly, some of the attitude, and I love it, but I also like want to shake some people. I guarantee you, if Man City came down here in the FA Cup, I'd hear from a fan like Haaland scores from a corner. It's like, what's Joey doing? Like, do you know what I mean?
We love that the standards are high though.
Oh, yeah. But naturally, when you build, that's what we did. We rebuilt a fan base based off the success on the football pitch. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it was actually really refreshing to see last season and this season that when we're not winning every game, the crowd still grew.
Yeah, which is good. Yeah,
so that for the long-term growth of the football club, like that was massive.
Is the squad looking good today? Do you know?
Squad should be fully fit. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed the boys play well. Look, there's 3 games to go. We've got a hard weekend this weekend because we've got Plymouth today and then Bracknell away on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just have to see and
see how you get on. Fingers crossed,
yeah.
Well, okay. Well, look, it's been really nice actually because I think we've never actually met since.
No.
I don't think we've met since.
I don't think
the
we've
day
even
you
met.
came into. I don't think we've even met. And yeah, I was working here for a whole year.
Yeah.
So it's good, and you've obviously done very, very, very well since coming in. So, and you are like substantially younger than me. So it's like you've done brilliantly for your age. Well, in general, not even just for your age. So you've done really well. It's been great. And I hope you get the point.
No, I really enjoyed it.
We need a point to get in the playoffs. Mathematically, it's like, still not possible if we don't win and everyone else wins. But I think we'll do it today.
We can see what the food is saying at Walton Hersham. It's £4.50 and it's worth it.
Fucking great.